Nation wants to move here or anything. So yeah. So even if anything happened, it was gonna be a long distance relationship, which from my knowledge is very, very hard to maintain, especially one that's based on, gaming, which can come and go. So yeah.
I got to know him by his in-game name. His in-game name was Roardruin. His real name is Rich, short for Richard. But his in-game name was Roardruin, and I called him Rory as a result. And I called him Rory for a really long time. Like, totally just disregarding that his name was Rich. And when we started getting closer, then I started calling him Rich. Like when we started getting more intimate with the phone, I started calling him Rich. But I mean, I gave him my number fairly early. He asked, he was like, can I ever call you sometime? And I said, sure, because I think I was pretty interested too. So I gave him my number. I don't know. Like, I would call him Rory over the phone and on emails and in-game. And I think it was like at least like a month went by before I started calling him Rich. But like, it took me a while to break that habit. And like, I know that like his character had black hair and green eyes, which was like totally the opposite of him. He has blonde hair and blue eyes in real life. Like, my character was like very pale skinned and red haired, and I'm not pale skinned or red haired. But I mean, there is like a thing when like, you do know that person like looks a certain way, like once we exchange pictures. But like, I would associate little things in game with him, like when like his character jumped up and down, and we kind of had this thing where in a major city called Stormwind, it's like where you could go to an auction house, sell and buy things. It's like basically like New York City or Los Angeles, the US. We would go to the city, and there's this big tree planted in the center. So we would run around that like together while we talked. So like that became kind of known as our tree, and it was really silly. But like whenever I saw somebody like jumping around that tree, it would like make me think of him immediately. So there are some like in-game actions that I associate with him, like jumping around the tree, and there are things like small in-game actions, like jumping up and down repeatedly. Like everybody else does it, but like I do associate it with him. Things like that.
Her boyfriend at that time was the leader of one of those guilds I talked about earlier. So he could have had his own thing to do with all his guild members and stuff like that. So even though they talked and met occasionally in real life, and they talked on the phone maybe every day as well, it got to the point where she was spending more and talking more time with me than she was with her boyfriend, which is, obviously caused her for drama and stuff. And I think it was one of the reasons that they eventually broke up. The fact that I was spending so much time with her, and whenever she talked about him, she was saying how he wanted more attention, you want to do things with her and stuff like that. And I felt bad because I was the one that was taking that away. If I wasn't there, maybe they would work out and stuff, but they didn't, and they broke up.
Even though it's true that you can sort of represent yourself slightly differently than you would in person, and many people do enjoy that probably, I would say that a lot of it you actually can get a very good sense for what people are really like by playing the game, and certainly by having played the game the way that I have for so long. I mean, I've met many of the people in DMT, and I would say that when you really get to know people on here, the way that they are in game does translate pretty faithfully into real life. Even though they may not look the way you expected or something like that, it's the basic personality traits in more or less subtle ways will will still carry across, and that is very interesting. I find, simply because it perhaps doesn't have quite as much of an escapist element to it as people would initially expect.
Oh, we kind of had a falling out. Was it a month, 2 months? Has it been 2 months now? I think it was 2 months, close to 2 months ago. Like, she was going through some rough times in her life, like her real life outside the game, like family problems, stress. She's trying to quit smoking too, so that didn't help because, withdrawal makes you, so stuff like that. Like, it kind of just added all up. And at that time, I started playing with another group of people, and basically I couldn't be there for her, like, 24/7, like she wanted me to. But then, like I've said, I was never a boyfriend, just her friend, and I would like to do my own thing from time to time, but she took it as, I was deserting her or something, so she went. In Ireland, they have a term called emo, which stands short for emotional, overly emotional, basically. So she kind of got really upset over it, and she cussed at me, and then we had a long talk where she just sounded completely depressed, till I totally crushed her spirit just by not playing with her, which I thought she was overreacting, but I guess all the things in her personal life are adding up, and me not being there for her kind of just...
I think about all these external factors, like what happened if we both weren't looking for a specific dungeon at the same time? What happened if we had just gone into different groups, or if he had decided to go quest in another region by himself? What if we had gotten into that group and we had been with awesome people and I hadn't got the opportunity to be a huge bitch and yell at everyone so that he could know that I was a girl? Like, and I think about all these external factors, and like, I do believe in God. I'm not Christian, and I don't really go to church or anything, but I do believe that mysterious things can happen, and I think that was one of those things because it was just too good to be coincidence. Like, he's really been my rock, and he's helped me get through so much together. Like, we've gotten through a lot together. We really relied on each other, and we actually want to get married. Like, I mean, when I've talked to my mother about it too, she said, you guys can't have met by chance, because, I mean, you guys are just too good for each other. She loves him now, and his parents supposedly love me. He is really grateful for World of Warcraft and, like, the happiness that it's brought as a result. And I know, like, we've joked a lot about how we should send Blizzard a gift basket, saying thank you so much for having this game and for, having this game available so we can meet each other.